We've been looking at this statement all week here in America's Newsroom. Remember when the president and a candidate as a senator said this repeatedly to the American people?
Together, we'll change this country and we will change the world. If it can change a nation, it can change the world. Your voice can change the world. If it can change a nation, it can change the world.
So let's go change the world. That last clip, by the way, just from 2 years ago. How's that working out for you, America? Alan Colmes, host of the Alan Colmes radio show, and Brad Blakeman, former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. Gentlemen, it is your turn today. We've been doing this every week, trying to dissect different viewpoints of what has changed, and is it the good change that America was looking for? Brad, what do you think? Where are we?
Well, to quote Joni Mitchell, we know what we got, and we can't wait till he's gone. I think that President Obama had such great promise for America. Even those of us who didn't vote for him were excited when he was inaugurated, and we half believed that what he said was true. And the fact is, today we're a divided nation. Almost 75% of Americans thinks we're going down the wrong track. He hasn't brought bipartisanship to Washington. He's brought division. He's inserted racism. As President of the United States, a biracial president could have brought us together, and instead he's injected race into local crimes and made them national stories. He's picked up his pen and his phone and not dealt with Congress like he had promised, and he has not been open and transparent, as we've seen with Benghazi and IRS and scandal after scandal, fast and furious. So really, it's the promise lost on this president. The next 2 years, I don't think it's going to be made up.
You get 2 years to make up for that if you believe that is a promise lost. Alan, defend that. I mean, what would you point to and say, you know what, he changed this and this is a real good thing?
Well, he did a lot of things in spite of tremendous opposition. In terms of race, which Brad brought up, the racism came toward him, not from him, calling him a Muslim, saying he wasn't born here. He had to put up with a lot of stuff. He had a majority leader, not formally minority leader in the Senate, who said, my number one objective, get him out of office day one. Number one, second day in office, he signed executive action doing away with torture that took place in dark prisons or black prisons, black sites overseas during the Bush administration. He invested in the economy. He brought the unemployment rate from down to 5.5%. He got bin Laden. He signed Dodd-Frank. I'm going to go down the list of things, and he certainly did. And, of course, obviously, it's health care, which is working better than his detractors would ever have admitted, and they still can't admit that it's working. So he can only do so much as one person.
I gave you a shout on that. I'll go back to Brad on this. Egypt changed. Libya changed with our help. Israel, the relationship has certainly changed there. Cuba has changed as well. Iran, we don't know how it's going to work out. And as Alan pointed out, healthcare did change for tens of millions of Americans. Back to the question, Brad, is this good change?
It is not good change. The world is a much more dangerous place under President Obama. I remember what he whispered to the president of Russia, I'll have much more flexibility after I'm reelected. Well, that flexibility hasn't worked out to our advantage. What did Putin do? He invaded Crimea. So the world is a dangerous place. Domestically, you talk about Obamacare, Alan, it hasn't worked for me. My premiums went up $240 a quarter because of Obamacare.
It's a good thing
and I'm
you're
a healthy
rich.
American. And but see, that's the thing is, it's the Robin Hood theory of economics. Take from the rich, give to the poor. And there aren't young people signing up. That's a failure.
Well, that's not true.
What about that,
But here's the deal. What are the Republicans offering in return? On the Iran deal, for example, they offer no alternative. They want to repeal and replace, but they don't have the replace part. So no deal means we just keep things as they are, which you're not happy with anyway.
No,
so
we remove Iran's ability to have a nuclear weapon.
Well, but then what do you want to do about it? What do you want to work toward? The Republicans haven't offered alternatives to what they view as Obama's bad policies. So at least come up with something you think is better, which I've not heard from the other side.
You know, O'Reilly was asking about this last night. He actually found a thing or two. Listen.
Recently, I asked former Congressman Barney Frank what President Obama's main domestic accomplishments have been, outside of Obamacare, which is still being litigated, and the economy. Barney Frank could not name another accomplishment. Then I asked two Democrat foreign policy experts to name Mr. Obama's primary accomplishment overseas. They came up with Myanmar, Burma. That's it.
Nothing wrong with Burma, right, Alan?
I would say the primary accomplishment overseas is he went into Pakistan and he got the guy that Bush couldn't get, who was the architect of 9/11. I think that's pretty good.
You mentioned that. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on, okay? We're going to continue asking this question and see where we are 6 years later.
Very much.
Alan, thanks. We got to run. Brad, thanks to you. 11 minutes before the hour.